My brother left me to die, then needed my kidney to live. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. I can still hear the sound of my brother's voice in my head, the words he spat at me right before he walked away. The night air was cold, my body trembling not just from fear, but from the pain that was spreading through me like fire. I had fallen hard, blood pooling beneath me, my breaths ragged. We were hiking when it happened, an accident, or maybe fate. My ankle was twisted, I was bleeding from my leg, and every instinct in me screamed for help. "Stop being so dramatic," he sneered, brushing dirt off his jacket like I was just an inconvenience. "You'll figure it out. You always cling to me like I owe you something. But tonight, you're on your own." I reached out, grabbing his sleeve, desperate. "Please, don't leave me here. I can't even stand." But he shoved my hand off like I was dirt. Then he turned his back and walked down the trail, leaving me in darkness with nothing but my own heartbeat thundering in my ears. I remember screaming his name until my throat tore raw, watching the last glow of his flashlight vanish into the trees. I thought that was it. That night, I genuinely believed I would die. The hours crawled by, every second colder, every breath shallower. I started thinking about all the times I'd covered for him, protected him, even loved him when he didn't deserve it. I thought about how family was supposed to mean loyalty, but in that moment, family meant betrayal. Somehow, through sheer rage and survival instinct, I crawled, inch by inch, clawing at roots and rocks, dragging my useless leg until dawn broke and a stranger found me on the side of the road. They saved my life. Not him, not my brother, a stranger. And yet, years later, when I had finally stitched my life back together, he came knocking again. This time, not with arrogance, not with cruelty, no. This time, my brother was on his knees, begging me for something far greater than forgiveness. He needed my kidney to survive. The first time I heard his voice again after all those years, it wasn't him directly, it was my mother on the phone. Her tone was clipped, almost rehearsed, but I could hear the desperation bleeding through. "He's in the hospital," she said, skipping any greeting. "Your brother. It's serious. Kidney failure. The doctors, they say you might be the only match." My stomach turned to ice. For a moment, I thought she was joking, some twisted karmic punchline, but the silence that followed was too heavy to be fake. I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound I hadn't heard from myself in years. "So now I matter? Now I'm not just dead weight left on a mountain trail." "Don't start," she snapped, her voice tightening. "He made mistakes, but this is life and death. You can't hold a grudge forever. You're family." Family. The same word that echoed in my head the night he abandoned me. The word that felt like a curse more than a bond. Still, curiosity gnawed at me. Against my better judgment, I went to the hospital the next day. The sterile smell hit me first, and then I saw him. My brother, once cocky, untouchable, looked small, frail, wires and tubes tethering him to machines that hummed like grim reapers. His skin was gray, his eyes sunken, but when he saw me, something flickered there. Not remorse, not even shame, just desperation. "You came," he croaked, his voice hoarse. I knew you would. You're all I've got." I wanted to spit in his face. Instead, I just stood there, silent, staring at the man who left me to die, but now looked at me like I was his only hope. "I need you," he whispered, tears glistening in his eyes. "Please, don't let me die." And in that moment, all I could think was, why should his life be worth more than mine was that night? The moment I sat down by his bed, he wasted no time. His hands trembled, not from guilt, but from weakness, and his eyes darted to mine like a cornered animal searching for an escape. "I didn't mean to leave you there," he began, his voice shaking. "You have to understand." I panicked. Anyone would have. I clenched my jaw so tight I thought my teeth might crack. Panicked? That was his explanation for abandoning me while I screamed his name, my leg pinned under shattered rock, begging for help? "You looked me in the eye," I hissed, leaning closer. "You saw me trapped and bleeding, and you turned your back. That wasn't panic. That was choice." He flinched, but quickly scrambled for another excuse. "I thought you'd slow me down. If I went for help, maybe I could bring someone back in time." Stop lying," I snapped. The memory flooded back with sickening clarity, his face twisted in fear, his footsteps crunching away, the silence after. The bitter taste of dirt and betrayal in my mouth as I realized I'd been left to die by my own brother. He let out a weak cough, pressing a hand to his side. The monitors beeped faster, and for a fleeting second, I saw it. That same arrogance in his eyes. Look, I know I screwed up. But you survived, didn't you? You're fine now. I wasn't thinking straight. But if you walk away from me now, then you'll be the one killing me. My blood boiled. The way he twisted it, making me the villain, making me the executioner, was the same manipulation I'd grown up with. He'd always known how to spin things, always knew how to dodge accountability. And yet, as I stared at him gasping for air, a thought I hated crept in. Was I really capable of letting him die? Before I could answer myself, the door opened. My parents walked in, their faces grim, their eyes locking onto me like a jury preparing its verdict. Sit down, my father said coldly. We need to talk about your duty as his brother. The room suddenly felt smaller, suffocating. My parents stood at the foot of my brother's bed like prosecutors, their eyes fixed on me. My mother's hands were clasped so tightly her knuckles turned white, while my father's jaw was set like stone. You're his only chance, my mother whispered, her voice trembling. He's your brother. Whatever happened in the past, you can't let him die. I laughed, bitter and sharp. Whatever happened in the past? He left me to die? I still wake up some nights, choking on dust, hearing my own screams echoing in my head. He made a choice, and now he's paying for it. My father's eyes hardened. And you'd make the same choice now? You'd watch him die, just to prove a point? That makes you no better than him. The words cut deep. They always knew where to stab. Growing up, I was the quiet one, the overlooked one, the scapegoat when things went wrong. My brother was their golden boy, charismatic, athletic, the one who could do no wrong. Even when he betrayed me in the cruelest way imaginable, they twisted the narrative to protect him. I'm not his savior, I said, my voice cracking with both rage and pain. I'm his victim. Don't you dare guilt me into bleeding for him. My mother stepped forward, tears spilling down her face. Please, think about what you're saying. If you don't do this, we'll lose him, and it will be on your conscience. That's when my brother coughed weakly, his voice rasping but still carrying that same manipulative edge. They're right, you know. If you walk away, you'll carry my death forever. Everyone will see you for what you really are, a selfish coward. My stomach twisted. For years, I'd fantasized about confronting him, making him face what he did. But nothing in those fantasies prepared me for this. The weight of my parents' judgment pressing down, the guilt being shoved into my chest like a knife. I stood frozen, every nerve screaming to run, when suddenly, a nurse entered the room with a clipboard. She looked at me, then at my parents, and her words sliced the air clean in half. The transplant team needs a decision within 48 hours. After that, it may be too late. The clock started ticking the moment those words left the nurse's mouth. 48 hours. 2 days to make a decision that could either condemn my brother or chain me to him forever. I left the hospital that night with my parents' stares burning holes into my back. Their silence was worse than any scream. It was loaded with accusation, with disappointment, with the unspoken truth. If you let him die, you're no longer part of this family. Back in my apartment, I sat in the dark, staring at the ceiling as flashes of the past invaded me like a broken reel of film. The night he left me, the way his footsteps faded as I begged for help, the cold silence that followed, the realization that no one was coming. My chest tightened. My palms were sweaty. I could still feel the dust filling my lungs, the hopelessness of knowing I'd been abandoned by the one person who should have protected me. And now that same person expected me to save him. I pulled out my old journal, the one I kept after the accident. Pages of rage and despair stared back at me, my handwriting jagged and desperate. One entry made me freeze. If I ever see him again, I hope karma breaks him piece by piece. Was this karma? Was his failing body the justice I had begged the universe for? I didn't sleep. I paced. I argued with myself out loud. One moment I thought, maybe I should do it, just to prove I'm not like him. The next, I thought, if I save him, he wins again. He'll own me forever. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a message from my mother. Just 4 words. He's asking for you. I stared at the screen until my vision blurred. My pulse hammered in my ears. What could he possibly want to say? Another manipulation? Another cruel twist of the knife? I told myself I wouldn't go, that I didn't know him a damn thing. But 2 hours later, I found myself back at the hospital, standing outside his door. Through the glass, I saw him alone, hooked to machines, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. His eyes flickered toward me, and for a moment, there was no arrogance, just desperation. Then he whispered, loud enough for me to hear through the door, "Don't let me die." I stood frozen outside the glass door, his words echoing in my head like a curse. Don't let me die. For years I had replayed the sound of him walking away from me, leaving me in the dirt, believing my life meant nothing. And now here he was, clinging to me like I was his last lifeline. My hand trembled as I pushed the door open. The antiseptic smell hit me first, sharp and suffocating. Machines beeped steadily, wires snaked across his chest, and he looked more like a hollow shell than the brother I remembered. He turned his head slowly, his eyes bloodshot, his lips cracked, but when he saw me, a flicker of relief crossed his face. "You came," he rasped, his voice hoarse. I didn't sit. I didn't move closer. I just stood by the foot of his bed, arms crossed, heart pounding. "What do you want from me?" My voice came out harder than I intended, edged with years of buried pain. He swallowed, wincing. I know I screwed up. That night. I panicked. I wasn't thinking. I swear I didn't mean to leave you like that." My laugh was bitter, sharp. "You didn't mean to? You looked me in the eye while I begged you. You chose to walk away." He closed his eyes, and for a moment I thought I saw guilt. But then he whispered, "I was scared, all right? I thought I'd die too. I thought, if I left, I could get help. But I didn't. I froze. I ran. I hated myself for it every day after." His voice cracked, and I could see his hands trembling. "I know I don't deserve it, but please. You're the only one who can save me. If you don't," his breath hitched, the words cut off by the machines beeping faster. I felt my throat tighten. I wanted to scream at him, to remind him of every night I woke from nightmares, gasping for air, seeing his shadow turning away. But part of me, some broken, bleeding part, wondered if this was the first time he had ever spoken the truth. "Why should I?" I whispered, almost to myself. He opened his eyes again, glassy with tears. "Because I'm still your brother. And if you let me die, it'll haunt you forever." The room felt like it was shrinking, the walls pressing in. His words were daggers, not because they were cruel, but because they struck at the very wound I never let heal. And then, with a weak, shaky breath, he muttered something that made my blood run cold. "You don't know everything about that night." My stomach twisted when those words left his mouth. "You don't know everything about that night." For years, I thought I did. I thought the story was simple. My brother abandoned me to die, and I barely survived. That memory was carved into me like a scar. But now, lying in his hospital bed, pale and shaking, he had the audacity to suggest there was more. I stepped closer, my fists clenched at my sides. "What do you mean?" My voice was low, dangerous. He turned his head away, staring at the wall like he couldn't bear to meet my eyes. "I wasn't alone," he whispered. The air drained from my lungs. "What? There was someone else there that night." His voice was barely audible, but each word landed like a hammer blow. "I wasn't the only one who left you. I wasn't even the one who made the call to leave you behind." My heart thundered in my chest. I grabbed the rail of his hospital bed, leaning over him. "Stop playing games, Daniel. You walked away. I saw you." Tears pooled in his eyes, his lips trembling. "Yes, I walked, but not because it was my choice. Someone told me to go. Said it was already too late for you. Said staying would kill us both." I shook my head violently. Who? Who said that?" His breathing grew shallow, uneven. The monitor beeped faster, nurses shifting outside the glass. He lifted a shaking hand, reaching toward me like a child begging forgiveness. "It was Mom." The world tilted. My knees nearly buckled as his words sank in. "My mother?" The woman who had held my hand in that hospital afterward, crying and promising she had no idea why Daniel abandoned me? The woman who had sworn she'd never forgive him for what he did? "You're lying," I hissed. My voice cracked, but I forced the words out. "You're trying to spread the blame now because you're desperate." He shook his head weakly, tears spilling down his temples. "She told me to run. Said you were gone. Said you weren't worth saving." The machines wailed louder as his chest heaved. A nurse rushed in, urging me to step back, but I couldn't move. My entire world had just been ripped apart for the second time. If what he said was true, my brother's betrayal was only half the story. The other half was the person I trusted most. My mother. I left the hospital room in a daze, Daniel's words echoing in my head like a curse. It was Mom. She told me to leave you. The fluorescent hallway lights buzzed overhead, but all I could see was her face. Warm, reassuring, drenched in fake tears as she sat by my hospital bed years ago. I remembered her words so clearly. I can't believe he did this to you. My own son. I'll never forgive him. And yet, if Daniel wasn't lying, she was the one who had ordered my death. My phone trembled in my hand. I almost called her, demanded the truth, but I knew she'd deny it. She'd spin it, twist it, gaslight me until I doubted myself all over again. That was her gift. She knew how to play innocent, how to turn guilt into a weapon. Instead, I drove to her house. The same house I grew up in, the one that still smelled faintly of cinnamon and laundry detergent. My hands shook as I turned the doorknob and stepped inside without knocking. She was in the kitchen, humming softly as she prepared tea. She looked up, startled but smiling. "Sweetheart, what are you doing here? You look pale. Sit down, I'll make you something." The image of her calmly making tea while her son lay dying in the woods all those years ago made bile rise in my throat. "I just came from the hospital," I said flatly. Her smile faltered. "Oh, is Daniel?" "He told me everything." My voice cut through the room like a blade. "He said you told him to leave me." Her face went white. For a moment, her mask slipped, and I saw pure fear in her eyes. But it vanished almost instantly, replaced by a trembling laugh. "He's delirious. Sick. You can't possibly believe." "Stop." My voice cracked like a whip. "I remember every detail of that night. You were the first face I saw when I woke up in the hospital. And now I wonder, were those tears real? Or were they guilt?" She set the teacup down, her hands shaking slightly. "I did what I had to," she whispered. The room spun. My chest burned. "What you had to? You told my own brother to leave me for dead?" Her eyes filled with tears, but her words were ice. "You wouldn't understand. You were weak. I had to make a choice. And I chose the son I thought would survive." I staggered back like she had struck me. My mother, the woman who gave me life, had also chosen to gamble it away. Before I could even form a response, she leaned forward, her eyes hard. "And now, years later, you're still alive. So maybe I was right." The sound of my heart pounding drowned out everything else. At that moment, I realized the betrayal cut deeper than anything Daniel had done. Because it wasn't just my brother who had abandoned me. It was my mother. When I left her kitchen that night, I felt like I was walking on broken glass, every step tearing deeper into my soul. The weight of what I'd just heard pressed against my chest until I could barely breathe. My own mother, the one who tucked me in at night, had condemned me years ago, and now she dared to justify it. By the time I reached the hospital again, my father was waiting outside Daniel's room. He gave me that hard, disappointed stare I knew too well. The one that used to freeze me when I was a child. "Your mother called," he said flatly. "She told me what you accused her of." I clenched my fists. "Accused?" She admitted it. His jaw tightened, and for a moment, I thought he might hit me like he used to when I was younger. Instead, he stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You don't get it. Families make hard choices. She did what she had to do, and now you will do what you have to do. Daniel needs you." I almost laughed, the sound bitter in my throat. "What I have to do? You mean hand over a piece of my body to the man who left me to die, because Mom told him to?" The door creaked behind us, and Daniel's weak voice cut through. "Please, I'm begging you." I turned. He looked smaller than I'd ever seen him, his skin pale, his eyes wide and desperate. He reached a trembling hand toward me like some kind of broken child. "Don't let me die," he whispered. "I'll make it right this time. I swear." The rage and grief inside me twisted into something sharp. "Make it right." I repeated. "You can't make it right. You can't undo leaving me to bleed out alone. You can't undo Mom's decision. Nothing you do will erase it." Tears welled in his eyes, but before I could say more, my mother appeared in the doorway, her face tight and fierce. "Enough. He's your brother. And if you refuse, his death will be on your hands. Do you want that guilt haunting you for the rest of your life?" Her words struck like daggers, but instead of breaking me, they lit a fire. For the first time, I didn't feel like the weak one in the room. I stepped closer, meeting her gaze head on. "No, his death won't be on me. It'll be on the people who chose, years ago, who was worth saving and who wasn't. Don't you dare put that on me." The silence that followed was suffocating. My father's glare, my mother's trembling lips, Daniel's wheezing breaths. It all pressed in like walls closing around me. But deep inside, for the first time in years, I felt something close to clarity. This family had been fractured long before the accident. Only now, the cracks were finally showing. The next morning, a doctor pulled me aside. His tone was calm, professional, but the words were like a countdown to an execution. "We need your decision within 24 hours, he said. "Daniel's condition is deteriorating rapidly. Without a donor, he won't survive the week. 24 hours. One day to decide whether to save the brother who left me to die. One day to shoulder a burden that would follow me for the rest of my life." When I walked into the waiting area, my parents were already there. My father stood stiff against the wall, arms crossed, jaw locked like granite. My mother sat forward in her chair, eyes red but blazing. "Have you come to your senses?" she demanded. I shook my head slowly. "No, I haven't decided. And stop acting like this is just a simple choice. It's my body, my life." My father's glare hardened. "Your brother's life is at stake. If you turn your back now, you'll regret it forever." I couldn't stop the bitter laugh that escaped me. "Funny, I don't remember either of you worrying about regret when he turned his back on me." My mother's face twisted. "That was different. You don't understand what it's like to choose between your children." "Yes, I do," I cut her off. My voice shook, but not from fear. "Because you already made that choice. You chose him. You let me die so he could live. And now you're asking me to do what you couldn't." Daniel's voice floated from the hospital bed, weak but sharp enough to cut through the tension. "Please, don't punish me for what happened. I was scared. I made a mistake. But I need you now. I need my brother." I turned toward him, searching his face for even a shred of sincerity. For the first time, he didn't look like the smug, selfish brother who'd always gotten everything. He looked broken, fragile, human, and that terrified me more than anything. Because if he was truly sorry, then refusing him made me the villain. But if he was lying, if this was just another manipulation, then saving him would chain me to him forever. The weight of the decision pressed down until I could barely stand. 24 hours. That's all I had. And with every tick of the clock, the walls closed in tighter. By morning, the air in the hospital felt heavier, like every breath carried the weight of 1,000 eyes watching me. I hadn't slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I was back in that ditch, bleeding, begging, waiting for help that never came. And every time, it was Daniel's face I saw, turning away. The doctor came in with a clipboard. His words were precise, clinical, but they sounded like shackles. "We need your consent. Today. If you agree, we'll schedule the surgery tomorrow. If not, we'll have to prepare your brother for alternative options. Though I'll be honest, those options are extremely limited." "Alternative options?" I asked bitterly. "You mean a coffin?" He didn't answer. He didn't need to. When I walked into Daniel's room, my parents were waiting like predators circling their prey. My father spoke first. "Enough games. Your brother doesn't have time for your drama. Sign the papers." My mother clasped her hands together, trying for softness, but her voice was laced with desperation. "Please, think about what it will mean if you refuse. People will know. Family, neighbors, everyone. They'll know you let your own brother die." I clenched my fists. "They already knew you let me die, and none of you cared." Daniel groaned from the bed, his skin pale, lips cracked. "Stop fighting, please. Just let me live. I swear, I'll make it right. Whatever you want, I'll do it." His words should have moved me, but something in his tone felt off, too rehearsed, too convenient. Was this genuine remorse, or just another performance? My father slammed his hand against the wall. "You'll regret it if you don't do this. You'll carry his death forever. You'll be cursed for it." I met his furious eyes and, for the first time in years, didn't flinch. "The curse isn't mine to carry. It's his. He's the one who left me." But still, when I looked at Daniel gasping for breath, something twisted inside me. Hatred and pity collided in my chest, leaving me paralyzed. The doctor returned, holding the consent forms. "We'll need your final answer by midnight." Midnight. The last hour. The last choice. And as the clock ticked closer, I realized, whatever I decided would haunt me for the rest of my life. The clock on the wall ticked louder with each passing second, as if mocking me. Midnight was crawling closer, and with it, the decision that could seal Daniel's fate forever. I sat alone in the sterile waiting room, the consent forms folded neatly on the chair beside me like a coiled snake waiting to strike. At 11:15, a nurse appeared, hesitant. "Your brother, he's asking for you." "Alone?" I almost said no. Every fiber of me screamed that this was another manipulation, another performance. But some darker curiosity pulled me into his room. The lights were dim, machines beeped steadily, and Daniel looked like a shadow of the man who once towered over me with arrogance. His lips trembled when he spoke. "I know you hate me. You should. What I did that night, leaving you, it wasn't just selfish. It was worse." I froze, my stomach tightening. "Worse? What are you talking about?" He turned his head away, shame or cowardice twisting his face. "I didn't just leave because I was scared. I left because I wanted you gone. I thought, if you didn't make it, I'd finally have everything. The house, Mom and Dad's attention, the life I thought you were stealing from me." His voice cracked, tears streaming down his face. "And I almost got it. They mourned you like you were already gone. For months, I had what I wanted. But when you survived, I knew karma was coming. And now here it is." The room spun. My breath caught in my throat as his confession settled like poison in my chest. He hadn't just abandoned me. He'd hoped I would die. "You were never my brother," I whispered, my hands trembling. Daniel reached out weakly, desperation bleeding from every word. "I was wrong. I see it now. Please, don't let me pay with my life. Give me this chance, and I swear I'll spend every day making it right." The irony cut deep. He wanted me to save the very life he once wished away. The monitor beeped faster as his pulse quickened. The nurse peeked in. "We need your answer. Time's running out." I stared at Daniel's outstretched hand, my heart at war. His confession had stripped away the last illusion. But what do you do when the devil who betrayed you is begging you to be his savior? I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Daniel's confession replayed in my head like a broken record, every word more venomous than the last. "I wanted you gone." The honesty was almost worse than the betrayal itself. It meant there was no misunderstanding, no excuse. My own brother had wished for my death. And now here he was, his life dangling by a thread, and I was the one holding the scissors. Morning sunlight filtered through the blinds when our parents arrived, their faces etched with worry. Mom rushed to me immediately. "Please, honey, say yes. Don't let your brother die." Her hands gripped mine, trembling. But I couldn't help noticing. Her eyes never showed the same desperation when I was fighting for my life. Dad stood silently, jaw clenched, like a judge waiting for the verdict. "Family is family," he muttered. "You do what's right. Don't make a mistake you'll regret forever." Family is family. Those words twisted in my gut. Where was family when Daniel left me to die? Where was family when I lay in that ditch, fighting for every breath alone? Later, the doctor pulled me aside. "We need your final decision by tonight. If you say no, we'll focus on comfort care." His tone was clinical, detached, but I could feel the weight pressing me down. I found myself outside, staring at the hospital garden. A young couple walked by, laughing, hand in hand. Their bond seemed unbreakable. My brother and I once had that. We built forts in the living room, whispered secrets under the covers, swore we'd always protect each other. That boy, my brother, was long gone. That night, Daniel begged again. His voice was weaker, but his words were sharp. "You can't let me die. You'll have to live with it forever. People will know. You killed your own brother." The audacity made my blood boil. He had the nerve to paint me as the executioner, after he'd abandoned me to death. I leaned in close, my voice steady, almost cold. "No, Daniel. If you die, it won't be because of me. It'll be because of the choice you made that night. The night you decided my life wasn't worth saving." His face crumpled, panic in his eyes. For the first time, I saw true fear, not of death, but of finally facing the mirror of his own actions. And as I walked out of his room, one thought echoed in my head like a drumbeat. Maybe some debts can only be paid in blood. By morning, the hospital halls felt colder than ever. I thought I'd made my stance clear, but my family wasn't going to let me walk away so easily. When I stepped into the waiting room, Mom was already there, pacing like a caged animal. The moment she saw me, her eyes lit up, not with love, but with fury. "You're heartless," she spat, voice shaking. "How could you sit there and watch your own brother fade away? After everything he's been through?" Her words struck like knives, But what cut deepest was after everything he's been through. What about me? After everything I've been through, abandoned, broken, nearly dead in a ditch, did that mean nothing? Dad was more controlled, but his words stung all the same. You think you're punishing him, but you're really punishing yourself. When he's gone, you'll be the one carrying this guilt. And don't expect us to look at you the same. I clenched my fists. You didn't look at me the same after that night anyway. None of you did. You excused him. You comforted him. You buried what he did because facing it was too ugly. Don't lecture me about guilt. You've been feeding me yours for years. The silence that followed was suffocating. My parents exchanged a glance, the unspoken truth clear. They'd chosen their golden boy, and I was just collateral damage. Later that day, a cousin dropped by. She sat beside me in the cafeteria, speaking in hushed tones. Your parents are saying if you let him die, you'll be disowned. No inheritance. No family ties. Nothing. I laughed bitterly, though it hurt. They already disowned me the night he left me behind. This is just paperwork. That evening, I passed Daniel's room. He looked worse, skin pale, eyes sunken. But when he saw me, he managed a smirk. They'll hate you forever if I die. You'll be the villain of the family story, not me. For a moment, rage surged hot in my chest. But then I realized, maybe that was the only story he could cling to. Because the truth, the real story, was too damning even for him to face. Still, as I walked away, my parents' glares burned into my back. Their whispers followed me down the hall. Murderer, selfish, monster. And yet, beneath all their venom, one question haunted me. Was I willing to live the rest of my life branded as the villain? If it meant finally breaking free? I sat alone in the hospital chapel, staring at the flickering candlelight. The air smelled faintly of wax and dust, but it was the silence that pressed down on me, heavier than any words my family had hurled. This was it, the moment where I decided not just my brother's fate, but my own. The door creaked open. My mother slipped inside, her eyes red and swollen. She didn't scream this time. She didn't even raise her voice. She simply whispered, "Please, don't let him die. You're his only chance." Her plea was softer, but it cut deeper than all the shouting. I wanted to scream back that I'd been his only chance once too, when I was bleeding, when I was screaming his name, and he'd chosen himself over me. But no matter how much I tried to bury it, I could still feel the bond of blood. He was my brother, the one who'd shared my childhood, my secrets, even my laughter once upon a time. And now, he was begging for my kidney just to live. I pressed my palms together, my heart pounding. If I do this, I'll save his life. But will I kill myself in the process? Not physically, but emotionally. Will I lose myself to his shadow again? Hours later, I stood outside his room. Daniel looked frail, weaker than I'd ever seen him. His arrogance had cracked into desperation. His eyes locked onto mine, and for the first time since that night, I thought I saw something close to fear. "You're gonna do it, right?" he rasped. "You'll save me?" I stepped closer, leaning in until I could see every line of exhaustion etched into his face. My voice was steady, colder than I expected. I thought about it, long and hard. But the truth is, Daniel, you already left me to die once. And I'm not doing it to myself again. His face drained of what little color remained. For the first time, he had no comeback. No smirk. No manipulation. Just silence. I turned and walked out of the room. My parents shouted after me, curses echoing through the sterile halls. But with each step, the weight I'd carried for years began to lift. Maybe they would call me the villain. Maybe they would hate me forever. But I finally understood something. Survival isn't just about living through the worst moments. It's about refusing to let those who betrayed you define what comes after. And as I pushed through the hospital doors into the cool night air, I realized I wasn't leaving a brother behind. I was leaving behind a ghost. For the first time in years, I was free.